in the early days, people would become successful because of other people. They would literally have to go through hoops and hoops and hoops to get to that one particular level. I don't have my book with me here, but it's like in the book Greenlights, which I've recently reviewed, which you can check over here. It basically goes through his story, Matthew McConaughey, how he has actually become successful, and he had to go through so many people to get to that stage in Hollywood. He had to just to get an agent, he had to go through so many people. But now with the internet, with a click of a button, if you have the credibility, you can find anybody. You can connect with anybody. So that's why the internet is raising a group of narcissists, and it's so easy to fall into that trap. But in reality, we all need each other. We're people. People are people, and people have their basic needs. So how do we go about this? If everyone's becoming a narcissist on the internet, what is the way out? Is it to, I would say it's probably to create community, more communities. And it's not to be a sole entrepreneur. There's this dream of becoming this entrepreneur that I don't need anyone. And it's very prominent in the Western society, especially, for example, single girls who say they don't need a guy. And then they become successful, they chase the career, they chase everything that they need on the internet, and suddenly they're this person that doesn't need anybody. But that person will still get to a point in their life where they'll crash, and they will understand that they actually need people. Because I don't know a person who hasn't needed people in the past. And because of the internet, it's kind of also affecting families, if you think about it. And I'm saying this as I spend my life on the internet, but it's an important lesson to learn. It's a lesson to learn that anything that is dear to you, if it's affecting you psychologically or your family, should you cut it out, or should you just find a new strategy? That's the question to ask. And in my opinion, I think you need to have a balance. A balance is always the right thing. They don't say, like, if you know sugar's bad for you, unless you're on some sort of crazy diet, you're just going to cut it down. So the best way, in my opinion, is just to cut it down and just make sure that you're spending enough time, on your craft, on the internet. But at the same time, you got to get out there and you got to network if you have the opportunity, of course. And that's really important, in my opinion. But yeah, the internet has really, really ruined a lot of things for people. And I don't know, it won't show up in the short term, but it will show up in the long term. Because narcissistic traits are really hard to get rid of, and they're going to be passed down generation to generation. I mean, if you've done any personality tests, you'll know that it's a thing. The dark triad, you can have really severe problems psychologically if one of your scores are really high, which is the narcissistic, I forgot which one it's called, but it's something to do with narcissism. If that one's really high in the dark triad, then your kids are going to have it, and it's going to be passed on from generation. And this is nothing to do with religion, it's nothing to do with sin, it's in here, it's your DNA, it's your genes, and your genes are hard-coded. The only way you can change your genes is by having a baby. So that also has a knock-on effect. So if you have a narcissistic trait and your genes are screwed, you're going to meet somebody else of the same person, because like attracts like. So how do you cut it out? You got to cut it out. You got to stop being that person who is narcissistic and thinks they know it all, because I have that trait within me as well. But the more I'm creating content, the more I'm talking to people, the more I'm realizing that people need help. And I don't know it all, and I know a lot because I've studied a lot, but I want to help people. So the best way, in my opinion, to get rid of these narcissistic traits is to pass on your knowledge. Become a teacher. Start mentoring people. Start helping people below you and at the same level as you, because then that'll give you a great sense of where you are. It'll give you relativity. You need relativity. That's why people are narcissistic. They lack relativity. If you can't, when things happen, this is the interesting thing. It's in his book, Greenlights, in that review that I was talking about before at the start of this video. When things got bad for Matthew McConaughey, what happened? For example, he got his first success with video. Straight away, his dad died. And he had to look at the world. He even said this himself, eye to eye. So it was eye level. The whole world was eye level. And that's what I'm talking about. Relativity. When you struggle with hardships, you're going to face something called relativity crisis. And that's when you look at things on an eye to eye level, on a plain level field, where you will see that you are not on top of the world, that things are actually here. And all those successful people that get to the top, they say the same thing. I'm seeing things here, I'm not seeing things from above, because we're all human and we all have this psychological limitation in our mind that is stopping us from reaching our potential. It's like the force of average. It's causing us to go down, and you'll never get above that. No matter how successful you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, you will find ways to overcome it. You'll find ways to become better than that limit. But there's always a limit. And that's the reason why in this world there's compassion, there's love, there's understanding for each other, and it needs to be like that. It can't just be, I can do this on my own. It cannot be like that, because we're human, and that's what humans are for, helping each other. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers.